Oh my god, hey! Or should I say, oh my god, hey yo Westerberg? Or should I say, me gently with a chainsaw, because earlier today it was announced that the UK production of Heathers, currently playing at the Other Palace Theatre, would be professionally filmed during its run there. If we know one thing, it's that theatre kids want pro shots, and theatre kids love nothing more in the UK than Heathers, so this is good news for everybody. But before we talk too much more about that, let me introduce myself. If you are meeting me for the first time, my name is Mickey Joe and I am obsessed with all things theatre. And I talk about it a lot on YouTube. This is my Stager YouTube channel. If you enjoy me talking about the latest news and rumours and gossip about musicals, as well as reviewing all of the opening nights of West End shows, make sure to subscribe to my channel. Now let's get back to Heathers. So if you don't know, Heathers is a musical adaptation of an 80s high school movie that opened around a decade ago off Broadway. And after some mixed success there and no luck of a Broadway transfer, it subsequently was workshopped in the UK and then opened at the Other Palace Theatre a few years ago, starring Carrie Hope Fletcher, Jamie Muscato, Jodie Steele, and a bunch of other rising stars who have gone on to huge, enormous, exciting things. In fact, so many of that cast are doing exciting things. Olivia Moore, for example, who understudied Veronica and Heather McNamara, is about to star as Sandy in Grease at the Dominion Theatre. Lauren Drew, who understudied Heather Chandler, then went on to play Catherine of Aragon in Six on the UK tour, is about to open as Brooke Wyndham in Legally Blonde at Regent's Park Open Air Theatre. So many huge stars came out of that original cast. On the success of that production at the Other Palace Theatre, it subsequently transferred to the Theatre Royal Haymarket, where it enjoyed a lovely little summer run, and a UK tour was then planned. And then bam! End of the world. But theatres eventually reopened, and as well as continuing its UK tour with a bunch of really exciting musical theatre rising stars, the production also had a limited London return at its previous home, the Theatre Royal Haymarket, where its current tenant, Only Fools and Horses the musical, was not yet able to reopen due to ongoing COVID financial uncertainties. And then after that production closing, this most recent run was announced. Paul Taylor Mills was reappointed as the artistic director of the Other Palace Theatre, which was acquired from Andrew Lloyd Webber, who decided to sell it because, you know, chandeliers and spinning stages don't pay for themselves. And Paul Taylor Mills decided to relaunch the Other Palace Theatre with a homecoming of Heathers, with a cast made up of some new faces as well as some returners from previous versions. I've made some previous videos on my channel where I have reviewed the production at the Other Palace Theatre and just recently talked a little bit about all of the recent chaos with the understudy situation in terms of the show not necessarily having a huge ensemble and many swings or any swings to rely on when its principal cast members go down. And as all that has been going on, we have kind of known from different cast members announcing this on their own personal social media pages that a cast change was coming up. We also know that, for example, George Madison is going into Carousel. We know that Inez has said she is leaving. We know that other cast members are going into shows like Sister Act. And yet, there has been no announcement of what the new cast was going to be. And as well as this, a bunch of eagle-eyed ticket holders noticed that 2 weeks of performances in May had also been taken off sale, meaning that even though some people had already bought tickets to those because they were initially part of the run, they had since been pulled and you couldn't buy tickets for those performances. Now, this is definitely a little bit shady, only because the ticket holders for those performances found out via social media and not via an official notification or update from the venue or from the producers. But after a slightly cryptic tweet from Paul Taylor Mills, we have now found out that the reason is because they are planning to film the current run of Heathers at the Other Palace Theatre, which is really exciting news. I feel like we're enjoying this amazing renaissance of professionally filmed stage musicals. I think the huge success of Hamilton on Disney Plus did an awful lot for that, because following that, Come From Away was filmed on Broadway, and we're still awaiting the release of the filmed production of Aladdin, the filmed concert version of Bonnie and Clyde, the filmed Broadway return of Waitress. You know, the list goes on. Some very exciting projects coming our way down the line. And it makes perfect sense to film Heathers. The reason is, I don't think you can oversaturate the market that this has in the UK. Heathers has really become this huge cult hit. For whatever reason, it didn't take off in the US in the same way. And a similar thing happened with Legally Blonde when it first played on Broadway in 2007. It did not have the same kind of lasting success that the subsequent London transfer had. in terms of awards recognition, in terms of subsequent productions. Legally Blonde had a great run in London, toured twice, and is now being revived in a very high-profile venue. In that entire time frame, it hasn't returned to Broadway once. But going back to Heathers, you know, there have been concurrent runs of this show with a tour in London happening at the same time, which only a few shows have ever been able to support. I think that speaks to such a fan base for this show, and I think having a pro shot out there is only going to encourage more fans to want to come and see it. I mean, Legally Blonde is kind of the case study for that. That filmed version that was done for MTV TV. If you haven't seen it, you must go and watch it, especially if you're a Heathers fan. Get into Legally Blonde, filmed on Broadway in 2007. That pro shot is how so many people discovered that show and that whole genre of show. You know, it really changed the industry's perception of that kind of musical and shifted a lot of things, I think. We wouldn't have Heathers if it wasn't for Legally Blonde. I didn't actually plan to talk about any of this in this video, but I get incredibly passionate when I talk about Legally Blonde. It changed the game. Anyway, back to Heathers. So we don't yet know all of the details about this filming process. We know it's happening over the next 2 weeks, which is a little bit of a question mark for me, because filming does not take that long. And in the press release announcing this Heathers filming, they have confirmed it's only going to be over a couple of performances. So the fact that they have 2 whole weeks to get this done implies other things. Let me tell you what it implies. It implies cast being rehearsed specifically. Now, we don't yet know who this is because the current cast, many of them were leaving, and they were leaving because they have places to be right now. It's not like they were leaving, but they can stay a couple of weeks to do the filming. Not necessarily, we don't know. Many of them are going straight into rehearsals for other shows. Some of them have already gone into rehearsals for other shows. Kayla McKnight is fully doing Lift. So there is absolutely nothing to say that the most recent version of this cast is the cast you will expect to see in the professionally filmed version, which is quite an exciting prospect. So let's speculate as to who this cast might be. From what we know on social media, Elsa Davidson, who has been playing Veronica, is set to be remaining with the show. I would have thought that they would keep her in this role for the pro shot. I don't think Carrie Hope Fletcher will be available anyway to reprise her original performance because she's very much mid-doing Cinderella, you know, she's busy. And I think Elsa is one of the strongest, if not the strongest Veronica I've ever seen in the UK, so I would have no issue with this whatsoever. I actually asked on Instagram post earlier, if you're not following me on Instagram, I'm Mickey Joe Theatre, go give me some love. I asked on there who people might want to see from previous casts returning, and there was a lot of love for Jacob Fowler as JD, which I think is really cool, especially because he started his life as first cover JD, who then got to play the roles for a bunch of performances due to extended COVID absence. I could also see them keeping Simon Gordon to do it, but there's always an outside chance they might bring back Jamie Muscato, whose performance in the original version was absolutely my favourite thing about it. And then we have Heather Chandler. So the question is, are they going to bring back Jodie Steele, or are they going to keep Madison Firth? And I could see arguments for both, because Jodie Steele gave such a strong performance in this role. I think it's been a career-defining performance for her. And when I saw her in the original cast, it was fantastic and everyone was on that amazing, insane level. When I saw her with the return to the Theatre Royal Haymarket, she was, you know, a sophomore of the show and everyone else was a freshman to the cast because they were all new to it. That's what that means. I think I used that right. American high schoolers, tell me if I got that wrong in the comments. But basically, she was already performing on kind of a higher level, if only because she'd previously done 2 runs of the show and had a chance to hone her characterization all that much more. So she was just so funny, so high energy, really milking every single line and opportunity that she had, giving you undead diva bitch sarcastic excellence. And yet, if there's a chance to bring her back, and with the timing of her run in But I'm a Cheerleader at the Turbine Theatre ending coincidentally similarly, you've got to think that they would want to capture her performance because it was iconic. My concern is that she would need to be in a cast with other people she is compatible with, both in terms of like energy and performance level, but also you want it to be similar kind of age ranges because the original production was a few years ago and so those cast members are older. There's also been a move to cast the show slightly younger in more recent versions, especially in that UK tour. I don't know if they actually were younger, but they definitely play younger. There's also been a lot of love for Hannah Lowther to get to play one of the Heathers. And while I think that's really, really sweet, and I would love that for her, and I definitely think for everything she has given the show, she should absolutely be a part of the filming, I think it would be kind of a slap in the face to the people who've been playing the principal versions of those roles to have one of their understudies go on for a filmed version. Like, it's just a little bit insensitive. Are they going to bring back all 3 original Heathers? Can you even cope with that as a concept? I personally can't. So I feel like it could be a very recent version of the cast and they're just going to kind of make it work with scheduling. Or option 2, we're going to get this all-stars Heather cast, where we could see some people returning from previous versions of the show pending their availability. Or secret door number 3, it could be brand new people we've never actually seen before in the roles. When Aladdin was filmed in the West End, there were cast members in that, and we don't know all the details about it, but I'm pretty sure there were some people in that who hadn't actually been in the show professionally before. They were just cast for that filmed version. We've seen both routes taken with pro shots of musicals before. You know, we've seen ones where they just reunite all of the original cast, and we've seen ones where they use the cast that they have at that point. Waitress versus Prince of Egypt being 2 different examples. But while we don't officially know who the cast are going to be yet, it is incredibly fun to speculate. If I could dream a cast into existence, I would love to see Elsa continue as Veronica. I think she's fantastic, and I saw her from front row. I think the closeness and the intimacy of her acting choices would play very well to camera. I would love for Jamie Muscato to come back as JD. I thought his performance was incredible. If we're having Jodie Steele, I think we need other returning Heathers alongside her. I'd love for Sophie Isaacs to come back, or Frances Mailey McCann, who I thought was just brilliant as Heather McNamara, but she's pretty busy right now killing people over at the Arts Theatre. I also think Inez Budd is brilliant as Heather Duke, but she is also someone set to be leaving the cast, so I'm not sure how her availability translates over the next few weeks. And I could also see them keeping Lizzie B as Martha Dunstock for the filming, if only because she was actually attached to the original workshop. Before even Carrie Hope Fletcher was part of the show, Lizzie B was the first Martha Dunstock in the UK, just not for public audiences. So at this point, drop your thoughts down in the comments section. Who do you want to see in these different roles? And who do you think we're going to see in these different roles? Let's do some speculating together. What would your dream Heathers cast be? Would it be an entire previous cast, like bring back all the originals, bring back the whole tour cast? Or would it be a sort of a pick and mix of different stagey favourites? Now I'm hungry. Do we have corn nuts? Do I like corn nuts? So many questions. We also have to ask questions like, is this just going to be a traditional version of the show? Are they just going to run through the show as we know it? Are they going to add a few more people to the ensemble? Are we going to see some cameos? You know, Carrie might not be available to play Veronica. She might pop up somewhere. Barrett Wilbert Weed might pop up somewhere. Winona Ryder might... Okay, I'm getting slightly ahead of myself, and I'm not sure either of those two things will happen. But you know, there are options. Like the adult roles, which are normally played by the same actor. Will they modify that so they're now played by different actors? Have Rebecca Locke be one of them? Have Amy Booth Steele or Vicky Lee Taylor or Lauren Ward be one of them? All the other actresses who have played that part before? It will be interesting to see, and I will be watching very closely. The other thing we do know about the filming of Heathers at the Other Palace Theatre is that they are going to require a live audience for bits of the show, which is really good. If we learned anything from the Diana the Musical Broadway filming, it's that shows do not really work in an empty theatre without the energy of a live audience. Not only for like clapping and laughing noises, but just in terms of the performances, they feed off that energy, and it's a really important part of the show. The audience are intrinsically part of that process. Theatre without an audience never really makes sense. And the good news for Heathers fans is that you may get to be a part of that filming. There is going to be a ballot for tickets. Now, the Other Palace is not a huge venue, and this is only going to be over a couple of performances, like we already said, but with any luck, your enjoyment of Heathers as an audience member may get to be preserved forever if you get to be part of this taping. I've only ever been to one filming before. I went to the filming of the SpongeBob musical in Plymouth. That was really fun, and my little laughing face is forever captured at the start of the second act. So stay tuned on social media if you want more information about how to enter the ballot to get yourself some tickets to go and see the filming of Heathers. Make sure you're following me on Twitter and Instagram, both at Mickey Jo Theatre, where I will be updating you as fast as I can with all of the information we know about the Heathers filming as it comes out. That's cast, that's ticket availability, anything else that we might need to know. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to subscribe to my channel for plenty more stagey content coming very soon, including a bunch of videos about Heathers, as well as all of your other favourite shows. Also, if you want to support me as a stagey content creator, head over to patreon.com/Mickey Jo Theatre, where you can gain access to a bunch of exclusive photo and video content. I hope that everyone is staying safe and that you have a stagey day. For 10 more seconds. I'm Mickey Jo Theatre. Oh my god, hey. Thanks for watching. Have a stagey day. Subscribe!